Now, the man leading that inquiry is UN Special Rapporteur Ben Emmerson. He's joining us now live from London. We know these drone attacks have been going on for many years. Mr. Emmerson, why did it take so long for the United Nations to launch this inquiry, and why now?
Well, let me make it clear, first of all, that as Special Rapporteur, I don't speak for the United Nations, I speak to the United Nations. My job is to present reports and recommendations, and it's then for the General Assembly to decide what to do about them. I was asked by a number of states, as you mentioned in your introductory piece, not solely the three that you named, but other states too, during the last session of the Human Rights Council in June of last year, to focus on the question of drones and of targeted killing using remote technology, in view of increasing concerns about the implications for disproportionate civilian casualties. So it's that, combined with the sharply divergent legal analyses of the lawfulness of the use of drones, with states and international lawyers in disagreement, which have forced this issue very rapidly up the international agenda.
What is the aim, though? What could you realistically hope to achieve when you look at the two main culprits, certainly in the areas where you have been mandated to investigate, to launch your inquiry from within, which is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Yemen and the occupied Palestinian territories? When you look at the two main culprits here, clearly the United States and Israel.
Well, let's be clear, this is not an investigation into the conduct of any particular state. It's an investigation into the consequences of the use of this form of technology. Whilst it may well be that the United States in particular has been the market leader in developing the use of drones as a counter-terrorism strategy on the sovereign territory of other states, the reality is that the increasing availability of this technology, and now there are 50-odd states with the technology capable of being deployed militarily, makes it very likely indeed that more states will be using this technology in the coming months and years, and even raises the spectre that non-state organisations, organisations labelled as terrorist groups, could use the technology in retaliation. It's a very serious and escalating situation, and one with which the international community now has rightly decided it needs to grapple seriously and urgently.
And can you see a proper legal framework coming out of this at the end of the day? I mean, from your legal perspective, what is the legal basis, if any, for these drone attacks when, as you say, it involves one country launching attacks into another sovereign nation's territory?
Well, there are at least three completely separate, competing and to a large extent conflicting legal theories, ranging from those who insist that outside situations of recognised international armed conflict, drones are unlawful, right the way across to the global war paradigm favoured by international lawyers in the United States and advanced by John Brennan, the leader designate of the CIA, with at least one very major theory in between. This is an unacceptable state of affairs, and clearly the international community needs to move forward in order to agree a framework. But can I say this? I approach this inquiry with an entirely open mind and with a view to looking at the evidence critically. The difficulty that has existed over the last 5 years, and particularly over the last 2 years, has been the complete failure of a proper factual investigation on the ground as to what is really happening. So that the debate has taken place in a vacuum, with administrations such as the United States taking the formal position, at least, that they neither confirm nor deny the existence of the programme, a position which makes accountability, at least in the public fora, extremely difficult.
And this, as you say,
I am confident.
Let me just ask you this, though, briefly in the time that's left to us. This, I was going to say, against the backdrop, as we know, of many, many civilian deaths, reportedly in the thousands. In the course of your investigation, your inquiry, have you seen any evidence that would suggest that war crimes have clearly taken place as a result of these drone strikes?
No, I cannot say at this stage of the process that I have come across evidence indicating that war crimes have been committed. What I can say is that we are already in possession of quite a large volume of material which is being very carefully analysed using 25 specific case studies across the regions that you've mentioned. Now, the examples that are usually identified are, for example, double tap strikes as they're known, where first responders are attacked, or attacks on funeral processions. Now, those types of activities, if they did occur, would be very difficult to justify on a proportionality analysis and would tend to suggest that there is at least a basis for conducting a full war crimes investigation. But it is far too early to say at this stage that the evidence would point in that direction.
Much more to talk about, but we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us. Ben Emmerson, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Counter-Terrorism.